Hello, I'm Otto, and welcome back to Dyson Sphere program. So in the last episode, we set up this fire ice build, and that is giving us some graphene and some hydrogen. As you can see, we are capped out on graphene, and because I determined that the hydrogen was a little bit more important at this point in the game, we did add some thermal power plants to kind of burn off the excess graphene. We also set up a titanium build over here that is kind of slowly chugging along. We are short on sulfuric acid, and we will not be able to collect any more sulfuric acid until I place some of the water pumps. So we will be doing that very soon. We also set up a build that we'd already made for the turbines and the supermagnetic rings. And if you recall from a previous episode, I did say that the EM turbines and the processors would be a huge bottleneck for us. The processors and the turbines are generally some of the biggest bottlenecks that you'll have in the game. Yeah, so part of the problem is, well, you can see we do not have any electric motors. And if you also recall, in that video we said that for every one of the assembling machines that were making the turbines, we needed 2 of the assembling machines that were making electric motors, and this is the only build that we have. So right now this is a 1-to-1. We will need to add another build of this, but as you can see, this one is having a little bit of a hard time right now with the magnetic coils. So if we look at our magnetic coil build, which we will also probably need to double up on in the near future, we are running out of magnets. Why are we running out of magnets? Well, we are having a hard time supplying the magnets with iron ore. And if you look over here, we are also having a hard time supplying the iron ingots with iron ore. So that is a problem that we're going to have to solve. And I did say that I was going to add a lot of different items in this, or a lot of different builds in between last episode and this episode. I figured, you know what, instead of like kind of doing that and then having to solve this problem after, I would just, you know what, start up the recording and we're going to solve this problem first, and then there will be a little bit of a time skip, and then I'll place a lot of the other builds that I said I was going to place with the glass, the prisms, the photon combiner, stuff like that. So what do we need? So first off, the best way that we have right now to kind of solve that problem is we are going to need to go to the other planet, and we are going to need a better power source than what we have over there. So we're going to grab some of the fusion generators. We're also going to need some miners, so let's add some of those. We definitely want some interstellar vessels and some ILS. I have 11, that is plenty. And we want to make sure that we have enough sorters. Oh, yeah, I definitely need more of these. Belts are fine, but I'm going to grab some extras anyways. And yes, I'm also going to grab... We're not going to take on the dark fog on the planet just yet, but I am going to grab some of these. Let's say like 100. Just in case we need them. I'll also be expanding the power that we have here. We don't have any power problems right now. We're at about 50%. Once we get to around 75%, that's probably a good time to start looking for increasing power, but I will be filling this out at some point off screen. And I think that's one last thing. So for the ingots and the magnets, I am going to go ahead and increase this to 8,000. That's so that we can have quite a bit of a buffer of vehicles that are starting to bring things on the way over. But one thing that you'll notice is that even this is not going to be enough. Our vessels and our drones just are way too slow. They do not have the capacity at the moment to kind of sustain everything that we will need out of these two. So something else that I like to do this early in the game is we're going to use the ILS in the area and also request in some iron ore. That way we can kind of utilize the vessels that they have as well to start transporting things. So we're going to set this to remote receive and local provide. So once the ore arrives here, it can then distribute it between the different ILS that need it. And because we're going to need quite a significant amount of iron ore, I'm going to add a few of these. All of them 8,000. That's 3. Let's add a 4th one just in case. Maybe even a 5th one. Like, do not underestimate the amount of iron ore that we're going to need in the upcoming episodes. It is going to tank most of our system supply just trying to get to the super magnetic rings and get a decent amount of these, or a stable amount of these, and then the particle containers. Okay, so I'm going to head over to the other planet, and we are going to start requesting in some better power. Okay, so we are on the other planet, and we obviously have some power over here that is no longer functioning. The build that contained the coal, which we bled through pretty fast. So one of the things that I like to do whenever I get to a new planet is we're going to drop in ILS. And we could use the one that's already here, but I did want to show this in a way that was, like, let's pretend that we were fresh on a new planet. So we have this. And even though it is not powered, and we do not have any vessels or drones in here, we can actually start to request in some of the fuel. So we're going to request in, let's just do 100. It's going to send it in 200 quantity, but 202. So you can see that this is already on the way. We can also go ahead and give this some vessels just in case they want to go grab it instead. So it's going to take quite a bit of time for them to show up. So we're going to go ahead and set this up in a way. How many do I want? Let's do 15. So we can do 3. Yeah, we'll do it on this side. 5 and 3. And even though we don't need any of the, even though this doesn't need power to bring it in, we will need actual power on the sorters. So even like worst case scenario, if you were on another planet, at the absolute minimum, you would need some way to jumpstart it, whether that's a solar panel or some wind turbines, just to kind of get the sorters going, or manually place some of the power into the mini fusion power plants yourself. Oh, I guess we can participate in this dark fog event. Nice thing that we have some prototypes on us, so we can kind of see how they are going to handle this. All right, let's see how this works. So the prototypes are just going to pop out. They do that automatically. We might actually be able to take on the dark fog colony over here. I'm not going to worry about it too much. Like, I'm probably going to, I don't know. I've never really used the prototypes to do this before, so I might just do that off screen so that I can make sure to not embarrass myself by getting blown up or whatever. So I have some fuel here, and we can toss that in to kind of jumpstart the process. But the purpose of this is we are going to be connecting it to the other network, so let's just go ahead and do that. And there we go. Power problems on this planet are gone. So whenever it comes to setting up some of these, I like to use multiple ILS. So we're going to place one just somewhere over here, and I'm not going to do this I'm not going to show this for all of them, but I did want to kind of set this first one up real quick and then continue on from there, and the rest I'll do off screen. And I really, really like to pack these in here, so I will go as few as maybe 3. But the goal is definitely, like I said, to kind of squeeze in as many as I can. Okay, that is good enough for me. And then we just need to kind of connect this to the rest of the power. So I like to, whenever I'm like kind of veering off from where our power supply is, I like to alternate the wireless power tower and the power poles, because the power poles can only go so far away from each other. That's about the cap. The wireless ones, however, can go a lot farther away from each other. Like that. But if you take a look at the regular power poles, they also can connect pretty far away from the wireless ones. So I like to alternate them whenever I'm out in the world. And I'm not picky, so just wherever we can set those up. All right, so I'm going to continue to set up the iron ore veins. I have one here and one here. And I believe I've got another one up here by the North Pole and over here. And then there was one here that we were using for the processors, but we have a lot of iron ore here. So I'm going to kind of rearrange these a little bit, because we are going to run out of copper for this build a lot sooner than we're going to run out of iron ore. So I do want to tap this, add a lot more miners down, and put a an ILS. And each one of these is going to get its own ILS. Like, I want to have these be independent of each other. That gives us more vessels to be able to travel back and forth from our main planet and the secondary planet. And yeah. Okay, so there will be probably a decent time skip. I don't know how long it's going to take me to kind of set everything up, but I'm going to do what I said I was going to do in the last episode. I'm going to set up some builds for glass, for prisms, for... what else do we have? Glass, prisms. Probably not diamonds and graphite just yet. Probably not plasma exciters either. Photon combiners, definitely. Okay, so I'm going to set some of that up. I'm also going to be placing some water pumps. So yeah. So I'm going to set that up, and then we will come back and set up a proliferator build. That is kind of the aim for this episode. So I'll be back shortly, and like I said, it's going to be quite a bit of a time skip. All right, so quite a bit of time has passed, and I now have a build for the glass, and I also added another build for the magnetic rings, or the magnetic coils, sorry, and the electric motors, and then I also have one for prisms and the photon combiners over here. Yeah, we are getting to the point where our little starter base over here is becoming very insignificant. It is pretty much, we're going to be taking this down very soon, so probably in the next episode. I also added in some power over here. And I believe the attack drones are now up and running. Sorry, the precision drones are up and running, which is fantastic. So the next thing on our agenda is we are going to very quickly go to our third planet and take care of some of the dark fog on that world. We definitely need to tap a lot of the iron over there. Okay, so we are on our local lava planet. This is our first time being here, and oh boy, there are lots of veins all over the place. I cannot wait to tap some of these. This is going to be a decent source of both copper and iron for us. We will be going through the iron a lot faster than we're going through the copper, that's for sure. Anyways, so let's get out our attack precision drones and see if we can actually manage to hold our own here. Oh, they are just ripping through those. And there's only 8. And yeah, they're ripping through us pretty hard too. I think the 8 might be fine though. Well, I mean, you know, with resupplies. It'll eventually get to the point where we will have a lot more of these, so... And one of the things that I forgot to grab was the thermal generators, which we should have some.
Mineral depleted.
Awesome.
Light
Okay, let's take care of more of these. Wow, these thrown weapons are actually pretty solid. Alright, so we can use the thermal generators to place on these things. Where do they go? Geothermal power stations. And that will get rid of the relay stations. It will also give us a ton of power. Look at this thing. 15.3 megawatts. That is equal to a fusion power generator. Okay, so I'm going to continue clearing the dark fog on this planet, and I'm probably not going to do it right now, but I will end up setting up some... We'll tap a lot of these. Actually, I am going to go ahead and do that now. Alright, we are back on our main planet, and my goodness, this is what this game is all about. Look at all this logistics stuff going on. Lots of traffic. Okay, so we need to get into the main point of this episode. This episode has gone on for quite a bit of time now. And we are going to be creating a build for proliferators. So we need an ILS, and this is going to be in the main area. I considered making a build that was in kind of the fringe areas, this like thicker band, but you know what? That would be a really, really massive build, so I'm not too concerned with it. So we're going to make this the same size as our other assembling machine builds, and this is going to be probably one of the easiest builds that we've ever set up. So we need a return line. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and back. Half. Alright, so we can fit 10 assembling machines in here, but we're only going to set up for 9. And the reason why this is going to be an easy build is because we can literally just take this and we're going to drag 3 out this way and drag 3 extra out this way and fill all of this in. And conveniently, this is going to also be a perfect setup for our little parameters that we've set, which would be right in here. So we are going to set this up as an incoming line. I don't know if I've talked that much about proliferation, but what this does is it gives us the option to create additional items with, I guess, just extra products. So the blue one, which is the main one that you would probably want to use. We have used the green one, but the Mark III, it gives us 25% extra products from just the normal creation. But the downside is that it has a massive additional energy cost. So as far as this playthrough goes, we're only going to be using it for largely power supply items and science stuff. So it also has the ability to kind of increase the speed, but basically no one does that. So yeah, we're not going to be using it for speed. Okay, so the ingredients that we need to output the blue proliferator, the Proliferator Mark III. This will be our main supply item. So for the Proliferator Mark III, we need the carbon nanotube. Proliferator Mark II needs diamonds, which we've covered before. The Proliferator Mark I needs coal. So we're going to bring all 3 of these in. Let's say a moderate amount, maybe 1,000. And on the outside corner here, we are going to bring in coal. And that is going to go all the way down. Then we're going to bring in diamonds. And I know I said that I don't like to do direct insert, but this is going to be using direct insertion. And then carbon nanotubes here. And then each of these will be bringing in its items from its own belt. And then we're going to transfer from the yellow to the green and green to the red. Mark 1 to Mark 2, Mark 2 to Mark 3. And we haven't really been talking about ratios that much, but this one creates 1 every 0.5 seconds for the Mark 1. The Mark 2 requires 2 every second, so this machine creates exactly enough in the same amount of time that this one needs 2. And then this one produces 1 every second, and the Mark 3 requires 2 of the Mark 2 every 2 seconds. So this one is enough to make what this needs, this one is enough to make what this needs, and it is perfectly balanced. Now, I will say too that because this one moves, because this one creates at 0.5 seconds, and it needs 1 coal every second, if we were to upgrade these to late game, the inserters here that are taking the coal from the belts and the inserters that are transferring from Mark 1 into Mark 2 are not enough. We would probably need to use the pile sorters just to be able to keep up with the demand of the machines that we have in the late game. So that is largely going to be what this build looks like. And then we will have, I suppose we can do the pile sorters on the outputs, even though it's really not that necessary. And then same thing over here. This is going to be the carbon nanotubes. Diamonds in the middle. And coal on the outside here. All right, and from there we can just copy and paste down the line. So this is not the full build. There are several things that we want to do at this point. So because the proliferator makes it so that the items, it gives extra, right? So another thing that we can do is we can actually proliferate the proliferators, and that will then get us even more, because each of these is capable of spraying 60 times, and if we proliferate this, then it is actually capable of spraying 75 times. So it is actually beneficial for us to spray all of what is coming out. So what we're going to do is we're going to do this in a little bit of a tight section. I'm actually going to have this one go back just a little bit. We're going to add the spray coater. Do I want to do one out? I think I need to do one out. And then the incoming belt will go right up into this. No, let's get this. Let's get this back. I think we can do this right up next to this. Like that? No. Okay. Fine, be that way. Alright, and then this will need to wrap around and come down and then go back in here so that it can proliferate itself. And then that will go in there. Now we do have some other builds. Oh, I don't like the way that looks. I'm not a fan. That's better. I suppose this one I'm fine with, but whatever. So we also have some other builds, and I don't know if I showed this off, but the build over here making our Deuteron fuel rods. So I initially had this set up in a really awkward way. For some reason I completely forgot about having the additional fuel rods coming to the backside, and I only had like the middle row set up. And then I was like, you know what? I kind of want to just proliferate all of this. So I did redo this in a way that every single one of the inputs and outputs is proliferated. And this is one of the only situations where I would proliferate the outputs, dealing with specifically if it was science, I would proliferate the output, and if it is used for energy, whether it be for myself or for main consumption, then we will have that set up. But the way that we had to set this up was using the distributor, so we do need a way to distribute this to different machines. So we are also going to add in I don't really want to make that like a permanent. I don't want it to all go in here, so we're just going to use a single insert sorter, and this can stack. Let's do 2. Give that a logistics distributor. Provide to others, and this needs to be the blue. Okay, and then we just need power to the ILS, and we need to set power up here. I believe we can probably just go, yeah. That is probably not going to work. We do need to do maybe one on the inside like here. Yeah, we'll do it here. Alright, and now we can request some of these items in. We're going to leave this absolutely wide open because, just because. Okay, so that is going to be our proliferator build, and you know what, I'm going to just wait a little bit before we end it and let some of this stuff come in. Okay, so I completely forgot that we did not have diamonds, so I did put a diamond build over here as well, and that is kind of currently going. And because I also forgot that we did not have any more graphite in this section over here, no more graphite, so I did add another graphite, or add a single graphite build over here as well. Anyways, our proliferator is now going strong. The bots are probably moving their items over here. Yep, there they go. So now all of this is going to start being proliferated as well. It's a little bit of a waste, like it will not be able to saturate all of the things at the same time, so there will be some items that are kind of mixed with proliferation and non-proliferation. I'm not really too concerned about it. If we really wanted, we could clear these lines and then add it back into the ILS here. Again, I'm not too concerned. Maybe the Deuteron fuel rods, or we could add it in. I mean, I've already added some, but snatch that for personal use. Anyways, so now that we have our proliferators going, and yeah, as you can see, this is 3 arrows because that is indications that it is the max proliferation rank. We're just going to let this go, and yeah, that's going to be a nice little production chain there. Okay, so that is going to be it for me for this episode. In the next episode, we are going to, like, we have not done anything with science in so long, and we need to get some purple science going. So just real quick, if we take a look at the purple science, we need the processors, which we have, but we don't have a lot of, and then we need the particle broadband. Particle broadband, which requires carbon nanotubes, which we have, the crystal silicon, which we have, and we do not have a build for plastic, but the plastic build reuses the same build as the carbon nanotubes, so we do already have a blueprint for that. We are also going to be tearing down the starter base. Yes, we definitely need this space for a lot of these builds, so it's about time. We can rip down pretty much all of this. I don't think there's anything else we need to hold on to at all. Everything that I have in the mall section, everything that I have for the bot malls, every single bit of this is being created over here in our new mall. And if it's not, well, we can just add it in. Okay, so that is going to be it for me. I will see you in the next episode, and thanks for watching.